Welcome everyone to today's video. I'm out here in the yard surrounded by a mix of old rotted wood and some overgrown branches that have been peeling up for a while. Today's task turning this mess into something useful firewood. To be exact, I'll be using my trusty electric saw to cut through old boards, rotten pallets, and even a dried out apple tree that's seen better days. Then I'll stake it all neatly under the shed to dry out for the winter. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but there's something satisfying about transforming this old wood into something that keep us warm. So let's get started. First up, I'm tackling a pile of old boards I found stretched behind the sheet. These boards are wet, some are splintered, some are starting to rot, and others have nails sticking out and odd angles. They've been sitting here for who knows how long. Probably from some old project or fence that never got finished. I grab my electric saw, check the blade to make sure it's sharp, and put on my safety gloves and glasses. Safety first, right? The saw hums to life, and I start cutting through the first board. The wood is dry and the saw slices through it like butter, sending a cloud of sawdust into the air. I'm cutting these into smaller pieces, about the size that fit into my wood stove. Each board takes a few seconds to measure with my eye, then I line up the cut and let the saw do its work. The pile is a mix of different types of wood, some pine, maybe some oak, but all is been exposed to the elements for too long. You can see the grayish tint and the soft, crumbly texture in the some spots. As I work through the pile, I'm careful to avoid the nails. They're rusty and bent, and I don't want to dull my blade or worse, send one flying. I pause every now and then to clear away the sawdust and check my progress. It's repetitive, but this rate is the line of the board. Cut me the next. The pile slowly shrinking, and I'm starting to see the ground beneath it for the first time in ages. Now that I got a good stack of fat boards, it's time to move the sheet. The sheet just across the yard, maybe 20 meters away, and it's got a nice dry spot under the overhead where I can stack this wood to keep it out of the rain. I grab an armful of the cut pieces. They're lighter than I expected, probably because the roots eaten away some of the density. I carry them over, feeling the raw texture of the wood against my gloves. Stacking is all about strategy. You don't just throw the wood in a pile, you want it to stay stable and allow air to circulate so it dries properly. I start by laying down a base layer, making sure the piles are aligned Nothing. They I built up alternative the direction of the boards to keep the stack sturdy. It's like a game of Tetris. Fitting each piece just right, the smell of old woods fills the air, mixed with that faint, musty scent of decay. It's not glamorous work, but it's satisfying to see the stack grow taller and more organized. Next up, in an old wooden pallet that's been sitting in the corner of the yard, this thing is a mess rotting in places. With boards that are warped and splitting pallets are tricky because they are held together with nails, and sometimes these nails are hidden in the wood. I start by inspecting it, flipping it over to see where the weak spots are. The wood is soft in some areas, practically crumbling when I press on it. I fire up the electric saw again and begin breaking the pallets down. I'm cutting into smaller sections first, separating the top boards from the frame. The saw makes quick work of the rotten wood, but I have to stop a few times to pry out nails with a crowbar. They stubborn, rusted into place, and I don't want to risk hitting them with a saw. Once I got the pallet in manageable piece, I cut these down further into store-sized chunks. The sawdust is flying everywhere now, sticking to my clothes and sitting to ground like a fine layer of snow. This pallet's wood isn't the best quality, it's probably some cheap pine, but it'll burn just fine. Once it's dry, I'm careful to keep the cut straight and even making sure each piece will fit in the stove without any hassle. By the time I'm done, the pellets reduced to a pile of rough, uneven chunks ready to be hauled over the sheet. Back to the sheet I go this time with the pallet wood. These pieces are a bit more awkward to carry because they are not as uniform as the boards were. Some are thicker, some are splintered, and a few still have nails I could get out. I make a few trips, covering as much as I can each time. The stack under the sheet is starting to look impressive now, with the boards and pallet pieces forming a tidy pile. I take a moment to adjust the stack, making sure everything's stable. You don't want a woodpile collapsing in the middle of winter when you're grabbing logs in the dark. I'm also thinking about airflow, stacking the wood to tidy traps moisture, and that's a recipe for mold. So I leave small gaps between the pieces, letting the breeze do its job. The sheets starting to smell like a proper wood storage are now that early woody scent that's so distinct. Some of the boards and pallet pieces are still too big for the stove, so I grab my axe to split them down. The axe is heavy with a sharp blade that's perfect for this kind of work. I set up chopping block, a steady outstarp, and start with one of the thicker boards. It's dry but dense, so it takes a good swing to split it. The wood cracks open with a satisfying sound, and I can see the grain inside still solid despite the root on the surface. I work to the few more pieces, swing the axe in a steady rhythm. It's a physical work and I can feel my arms straight to tire, but there's something almost meditative about it. Each swing has to be precise. You don't want to miss and send the axe flying. Some of the wood strips easily, while other pieces are stubborn, require a couple of hits. I'm careful to stretch the split pieces to the side, keeping the area clear so I don't trip over anything. The pile of store-ready wood is growing. I'm starting to feel like I'm making real progress. Now for the main event, an old Now for the main event, an old apple tree that's been dead for years. This tree is completely dried out, its bark peeling and its branches brittle. It's practically falling apart of its own, but it's still standing, so I need to bring it down and cut it up. The wood is too rooted that every cut sends up a huge cloud of dust, almost like a saving through a pile or sawdust itself. I'm wearing a mask for this part because the dust is intense, getting in my eyes and nose. I started thicker branches using the electric saw to cut them into manageable lengths. The wood is soft and crumbly, but these are still some solid pieces in the core. I'm cutting everything down to stock size, making sure each pile will fit easily. The apple tree wood is denser than the boards or pellets, so it takes a bit more effort, but I'm burn hot and run once it's ready. I work my way down the front section by section until the whole tree is reduced to a pile of dusty logs. This part makes no question the ground is covered in sawdust, and my clothes are coated it, but there's something rewarding about taking old dead tree and turning into something beautiful. It's like giving a second life as firewood. With the apple tree upcut, I had the pieces with sheet and add them to the stack. These pieces are heavier than the boards, so it takes a few trips. I'm careful to keep the stack neat, mixing the apple with the boards and pallet pieces. It's starting to look like a proper firewood supply now, enough to last a good chunk of the winter. Before I wrap and notice one less dry branch hanging from a nearby tree. It's small enough that I can break most of it by hand, sharpening all the thinner part with a satisfying crack. The thicker section need a saw, so I give them a quick cut. These pieces are small, almost kindling, so I stack them separately for quick access when starting a fire. This should be still now. neatly arranged and ready to ride out over the next few months. I step back to admire the work. It's been a long day, but seeing the start makes it all worth it. And that's it for today's project. What started as pile and old boards, a rotten pallet, and that pile tree is now a tidy stack of firewood, ready for the cold months ahead. There's something deeply satisfying about this kind of work, taking something old and broken and giving it purpose. Thanks for joining me on this one. If you enjoyed watching, give me a video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments what you like to see next. Now I like sawing. I like sawing, so that's my favorite exercise maybe. This is favorite exercise, yes. Cut, cut, and cut. The sound comes to life and I start cutting through the firewood. The wood is dry and the saw slides through is like butter, sending a cloud of soft dust into the air. I'm cutting this into smaller pieces about the size that fit into a wood stove. Each piece takes a few seconds to measure with my eye. That I line up the cut and let me saw do its work. They pile of wood, some pine, maybe some oak, maybe some apple tree, but all is being exposed to the elements for too long. And you can see the grayish pink and the soft crumbly texture in some spots. As I work, I chew the pile. I'm careful to avoid the nails. They rusty and bent. I don't want to dull my blade or worse sent over flying. I pause every now and then to clear away the sawdust and check my progress. It's repetitive, but there's a way. Okay, guys, thanks.